Hello, 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 and welcome back to Malts and Meeples, where we are continuing going through the top 100 games of all time, 2022 edition. Now, last week I took off because it was Halloween, and I just knew it was probably going to be a little bit of a later day with a 3-year-old who wants to go trick-or-treating. Had a grand time doing that. Definitely would have been a tight fit to get in a stream. But I am back again. And if you saw Wednesday's stream last week, you know that I did Slay the Spire, which was not what I was planning on doing. I was hoping to get Chronicles of Drunagar to the list, but I was coming down with strep throat at that time because, well, the aforementioned 3-year-old decided to bring that home and share that so nicely. Clearly doing a whole lot better now. Better amount of energy. Because of that, though, no drink tonight. I do have Fever Tree Sparkling Pink Grapefruit. So Fever Tree does like tonic water, things like that. Very good quality. And I decided I want to try their grapefruit. Plus, it makes my hands look massive, but also it is a very solid grapefruit drink. It has more of that natural grapefruit flavor to it. I think more of that natural grapefruit finish that you kind of miss with some other grapefruit style drinks. You get that more fakey taste to it. But let's start with number 40 here. And number 40 is going to be a party game, So Clover. I have been loving So Clover ever since I was able to get my hands on it. You have your 4-leaf clover, which you can see up on the screen there. And in the center of that board, you're going to have 4 little, excuse me, 4-sided word things. So, a square with a word on each side. You get two pairs of words on each side, so each clover leaf. And you have to write a word that connects both of them. So if you have something like hot dog and hamburger, that's pretty easy. It's barbecue. Or something like that, grill, whatever it might be for you. But people are probably going to be able to figure that out. Now, that's a really easy combination. You might have something like turtle and ketchup, or turtle and, I don't know, diamond. It could be anything, really. So you can get weird combinations that then you have to kind of start to play a mental game of, all right, well, if I have really strong clues on the top and the bottom, they should be able to get those in order as long as I can start to point them in the right direction for some of the other ones. We can get that figured out. Then the twist happens that, well, now you mix in a 5th card that you don't even know what it is. They're still trying to get those 4 that you had in the right order, in the right spot. But, well, that 5th one might work really well with the clue that you gave that was hoping to get people to pick turtle. Or maybe it will make a whole lot more sense to compare with turtle than diamond would. So it's really tricky, really fun, and it's a cooperative party game, which I've started to really enjoy those. At number 39, we have First Rat. This one, I'm so excited. Came back in stock on Miniature Market, I believe. And I immediately pre-ordered it because First Rat, when I played it at Gen Con this year was so much fun. It's it's a little bit weird to rank a game really high when I haven't played it more than, I mean, one full game and then some more messing around with it at Gen Con. But it is a almost an engine building game sort of thing where you are moving rats up basically a track. These rats are collecting ingredients, equipment for building up a rocket ship, because obviously a tin can and a calculator, that makes a great fuselage. And getting a the top part of a soda bottle, like a 2 liter, and some vinegar and baking soda, that's great propulsion. That's going to get you to the moon. And so you're collecting all of these things, building out the different pieces of your rocket ship, but really you're doing that and you're collecting points with how fast you can build out those different pieces. And the theme is a lot of fun. Plus, it has some really cool kind of mechanics to it where you have a couple of different ways that you can progress up the track. You can move one rat up to 5 spaces up the track, which means you can get a ways ahead and you can get what you want. Or you can move 2 rats slower, but they have to end on the same color space. Plus, there are some other cool just little tweaks to the mechanics as well. Yeah, Fatal, this one came out and sold out the limited amount they could get for Gen Con, and it has been really hard to find. Not, I don't think actually released yet fully into like retail. So then at 38, here we go, number 38, we have Orchard. Not the highest solo only game on the list, and not the highest solo only game on this part of the list. Orchard is a really simple game. You have 9 cards. It says 9-card solitaire game. There are actually 18 in the box. But you have play with 9 cards. You flip out the first one, and then you draw 2. And you're basically trying to layer your pear, apple, and plum trees over each other. And when you do on the cards, as you kind of layer your cards together, you start to count up pips on dice. Basically, you're getting more and more fruit growing on those trees. However, the trick is getting it so you can actually layer it up even that high, because if I remember, the numbers go 1, 3, 6, 10. So if you can get 4 cards or 5 cards stacked on top of each other, you can get up to 10, but that is pretty lucky, or you're having to cheat a little bit. You have 2 times during a game where you can cover up a spot with a bad apple, basically saying, this doesn't match the card that's underneath it. I love this one because I can knock it out so fast. I hadn't played it since like the spring, and now I think I played it 20 times last month. It's just so fast, like 5 minutes, 10 minutes a game. Plus it's 9 cards, and then 18 total cards in there. So you have your 9, you play those, you grab the other set of 9, play those, shuffle up again, deal out another 9, and it goes so fast. Then we are going to have Welcome To. Welcome To has dropped a bit on this list, all the way down to 37 at this point, but I still really like this game. This is a fun, kind of classic roll and write, which is mainly a solitaire game of you're flipping over 3 different combinations and deciding, all right, which one of these is going to work best to put into my town. And there are tons of different maps and different things you can do with it. It's also a really good one for like during 2020, 2021, we weren't necessarily getting together early in 2021 for in-person gaming. As long as you had the sheet, and they made the sheets available for download, and I think they're still available on like Board Game Geek and probably the company's website, but you just needed a camera pointed at those 3 stacks or 6 stacks of cards basically to be able to play the game. And like I said, I mean, it works well with that. It also works well with a big number of players. I think you could probably play, I mean, you could play an infinite number of people. You would start to get the same score. You'd have a lot of things happen at the same time. It'd be impossible to track who completed certain objectives first, or you would have to be like, all right, has anybody completed objective 1 this round? Okay, nobody has. Okay, objective 2. All right, 3 of you have. But it works well in every setting, and I do want to play more of the maps that I have. I haven't played them all yet because, I mean, there's even like a Fallout looking one. So welcome to building your perfect Stepford neighborhood is kind of how I describe it. It's a ton of fun. At number 36, we're going to have Mesozoic. This is a small game you've probably never heard of. I had never heard of it until I saw it last Christmas on the Game Center sale. Like they do a big Christmas sale every year, mainly trying to get rid of games that they probably have way too many of because they haven't been selling. Mesozoic is one of those games, but I really like it. I think it's a ton of fun. It's a pretty simple game of first you are drafting 11 cards. So 11 cards are dealt out to each player. You pick one of them, you pass the rest around. Once you have your 11 cards, they're going to have stuff like dinosaur enclosures on it. You can see that kind of monorail system up there, right below the words. And then other things as well. Basically, you're trying to connect routes with your monorail. You're trying to have the big dino enclosures to give you points. But you put it out in a 3x4 grid. And they just get randomly dealt out in that based off of shuffling up the cards that you drafted. And then you have 45 seconds, I believe, to do basically a sliding puzzle in front of you, because if it's 3x4, there's going to be a blank spot, and you slide stuff around trying to create the best score possible for that hand as fast as you can. It's just goofy fun. I like the timed element in this one because you can think strategically about how you want to draft, and you can draft maybe lower scoring cards, but they require less shifting. So maybe you're going for a really high scoring strategy, but that means you're going to have to either get a little lucky where things are set out, or you're going to have to be really fast at that sliding puzzle. Number 35, we're going to have Potion Explosion. This game has such fun kind of tactile nature to the game, and I call it almost an app type game, and there is a good app implementation for it, or was. I'm not sure what's going on currently with Horrible Guild's apps. They had very good apps on stuff, but I think the company that was hosting them for them doesn't exist anymore, or they are looking for a different contract with another company, so some of their apps weren't working. But with Potion Explosion, basically you have this marble tray. It has 6 different columns, I think it is. You pull out a marble, and if 2 marbles of the same color hit each other, you take all the marbles of that color in kind of that group. And if that causes marbles of the same color to hit each other, you do so again. So you're basically trying to create these cascading chains of marbles to then use those marbles to complete potions. Those potions give you special powers, special abilities that allow you to create bigger and better cascading chains so that you can complete more potions. And potions give you points. Even if you use them, they still give you points. It's pretty silly. It's pretty light. Has that amazing toy factor, but I always enjoy it whenever I sit down to play it just because it is that cool on the table. At number 34, we're going to have, yes, number 34 is Letter Jam. Letter Jam is a weird thing in that it's a cooperative word game that is based off of Hanabi. Like, I think that's the best way I can describe it. So, imagine this. You have 6 people sitting around a table. Everybody has a word on cards that are face down in front of them. You don't know what your word is. Start of the game, everybody takes their first card, flips it up, facing away from them, so everybody else at the table can see it, but they can't. And now, everybody is trying to pick out the best word that they can use to give a clue. So it might be like, all right, there's 6 of us, so I can create a 4-letter word using 4 of the people. Okay, that's a pretty strong one because I can see their letters. So I don't say what the 4-letter word is. I place a chip in front of everybody's letters so they know what order it goes in. So let's say the word that I picked was lion. Lion. If you're the first person, you see blank ion. If you're the second person, you say L blank on. If you're the third, Li blank N, and the last person sees LIO. Now that probably is a pretty solid clue to give you mainly limited options of what your letter could be. But sometimes you get a clue and you're like, well, unfortunately, that could be, well, let's say I had given the clue form, Form. If you're the second person with that O, you're looking at that and going, all right, it could be firm, it could be form, or it could be farm. Doesn't really help you that much in narrowing it down. So it's a fun balance, or it's a fun push to try and give those really good clues where everybody can really narrow down the letter that they have. I don't know if we've ever really won, but it's more about seeing how good a score you can get in this cooperative game. Then, I believe this is 32, we have Final Girl. Like I said, there's a higher solo only game, and I really should get to playing more Final Girl because I just had season 1 stuff come in from their Kickstarter, which is really exciting. I have a lot to play through. Final Girl is a horror themed solo board game. So if you're not familiar with the concept of a final girl is basically that last survivor at the end of the horror film. And the question is, will they make it? Or will the killer get them? Final Girl gives you that in a box, and what you're seeing here is what they call one of the featured film boxes, or features, and it basically gives you a certain type of film to play through. So this one is like your normal killer at a summer camp thing. But then there's a killer at a carnival, bayou, I'm trying to think, haunted house, all sorts of different locations. So it changes up. Each final girl is different. Each killer is different, which, I mean, is just awesome. It's an awesome system that they have created, and I believe once the season 2 of Final Girl stuff comes in, I will have theoretically 100 different combinations that I can play. And then finally we have, I believe, number 31. No, this is number 32. Number 32, Lost Ruins of Arnak. I'm lost count somewhere in there. Lost Ruins of Arnak is a deck building, worker placement, kind of adventure-ish game. But it's really, I'm trying to think. I think it's more a worker placement game than a deck building game. But at the same time, it's really an action economy game. I got to learn this one at Gen Con. I had owned it before, but I hadn't played it. I got to be taught at Gen Con, which is always nice. And then I have played it since then, and I have picked up the Expedition Leaders expansion for it. Now, base Arnak would probably be down in the 60s or 70s. It is a really fun game. I like the worker placement. I like the tightness of the worker placement that they get at the different player counts. And I enjoy the various things, such as going up the research track, basically, or the discovery track, I guess it would be. You first research, then you discover, or I guess it's first you discover, then you document. And it works really well. It allows you to push up and push for a big score on that side. But then you're also going out exploring, and at those locations you can get some really great things. But if you're the first person to go there, well, a monster is going to show up, and if you don't defeat that, you're going to get a negative point card into your deck of cards, which you're cycling through, which are your hand, or some of your actions, and you have a limited number of workers and everything. And it works really well. But then the Expedition Leaders expansion, that one just adds enough more to the game where now, instead of everybody having their generic campsite, you're playing a very different type of character. There's one character who doesn't actually mind that much if they get curses into their deck, so they're a little bit less worried about fighting and can push up that research track faster because they can use those curses for things. Or there's another one that gets an extra worker. Like, it's just no extra powers, no big extra powers or anything like that, just an extra worker. And it makes the game so much more fun because now the strategies in the base game, everybody's doing basically the same thing. But with that expansion, and with the fact that it changes how the track along the side of the board can work, giving you even more configurations, kind of that exploration, or not exploration, but like discovery and research track, it just is, it's really good. And it's one that I want to explore more of those characters. And I think maybe, well, if I take out the game trays that I put in there to store the pieces, I can probably fit in the next expansion that's coming, but it's going to be a tight squeeze. I'm still going to want that next expansion, which I believe they've said what the name is, but haven't really told anything about. Now, I believe this should be number 31, yes. And this one, I mean, compare the cover to the last one. It looks small, it looks chintzy, stupid, like you would find this at Target. And I mean, you very might be able to find it at Target. but it is a really fun roll and write. And then if you could see the backside of the box, which I'm not going to pull it off the shelf over there, you would look at it and go, well, this looks really simple. It's basically bingo. You flip a card and everybody crosses off that number on one of 3 nice 3x3 bingo grids. But when you complete a column or a row, it gives you stuff. And some of those things are lightning bolts, which you can spend so that, well, a 9 is flipped. I don't have a 9 anywhere on my 3 sheets to cross off, but I do have an 8. I can spend a lightning bolt to adjust for myself that number by 1. Or there are moons. The moons, you collect those. The more moons you have, doesn't necessarily help you that much, but if you have the most, you get 6 points. If you have the fewest, you get minus 6 points. And then the faster you can complete those bingo cards, because you flip over 9 cards per round. If you complete one the first round, and there are 4 rounds, you get a lot of points. I think it's something like 24 points for completing one. But that requires so many things to work just perfectly for you. And will it? Won't it? Or maybe you can set yourself up so that round 2 you can complete 2 cards. Now, that's probably worth more points, I believe it is, than completing 1 in round 1. But it's a push and pull of how quickly you can complete stuff, how well you're set up for completing more things, and just how many cards you can get completed overall. Like, I thought this game was going to be okay. When I first played it solo, I was like, I see a little bit what's going on here, but it doesn't blow me away. And then the more I've played it, the more I'm like, this is, yeah, it's a simple game, but it is really clever and really fun to play. So, let's quickly run through these again and then wrap up. But at number 40, we have So Clover, a cooperative party game that basically uses a clover like a Venn diagram, or kind of like the game Medium, which I talked about before. Really fun, challenging, good for some good laughs. Then we have First Rat, a Euro-style game where you are a rat trying to build a spaceship to get to the moon because the moon is made of cheese. But it has fascinating mechanics with how you move the rat and how you can push up kind of and improve your benefits throughout the game. Works really well, and it's a theme unlike any other. At 38, we have Orchard. Orchard is a small solo game where you are stacking cards, basically building out your orchard, trying to grow the best fruit possible. Then at 37, we're going to have Welcome To. Welcome To is a roll and write about building your perfect Stepford neighborhood, getting those white picket fences in the spots that they need to be, and getting those house numbers down on those houses so that you can score the most points by the end of the game. At number 36, we have Mesozoic. If I remember correctly, it's this. Well, we'll see if I'm off on my numbers again. 36 is Mesozoic. Mesozoic is a drafting game and a sliding puzzle game. It's a light, fun, fast game where you draft 11 cards and then you lay them out in front of you, treat them like a sliding puzzle as fast as you can, get them in the order that's going to score you the most points. Do that over 3 rounds. Person with the most wins, as you're building out a dinosaur zoo in just a really fun and goofy, fast way. Then we have Potion Explosion. Potion Explosion is one of those games that has amazing toy factor. It's also one of those that has kind of that, it feels like an app factor. You pull out a marble. If you have light colored marbles hit, you take those. If that causes more to hit, you take those that are light colored, and kind of a whole cascading thing. You're trying to get as many as you can so that you can complete your potions and then save stuff for future potions and get as many potions made as you can, scoring points off of them, but then also using those potions so that you can get, well, more control over that board of dice, or not dice, of marbles, so that next time you pull, you're able to create a massive cascade. Then we have Letter Jam. Letter Jam is a cooperative word game where you are trying to figure out the letters in front of you and then the word that you were given. So you can't see your own letters, but you can see everybody else's. So you are giving clues by laying out chips, poker chips basically, in front of them to help them figure out what letter they have. And when you put out the poker chips, it's part of a word, so they know what letter or what spot in the word their letter is, but hopefully you gave a good enough clue they can figure out what letter it is. After that, we have Final Girl. Final Girl, the solo horror movie board game of trying to survive as that last girl in the horror film, not knowing if the killer is going to be able to track you down or not. It is a fun, tense game with a ton of different expansions. They can play in a ton of different areas, which, I mean, frankly, it's just a blast, the different types of horror films that they give you. Then we have Lost Runes of Arnak. This should be coming in at number 32. Lost Runes of Arnak is a deck building... I need some more. Deck building worker placement game where you're going out and exploring these lost runes in the jungle and then discovering and researching and journaling about what you're finding out there to push up on tracks. I mean, it's really about scoring points. There's not that much story or theme to it, but a ton of fun. And finally, back to number 31, we have Super Mega Lucky Box, a light roll and write game that has way more depth as you get into it, but the mechanics are super simple. It's basically bingo. You're trying to complete Blackout, which is fill in your 3x3 grid fully, but when you get a bingo in a row or a column, you normally get some bonus that might allow you to cross off something else on another one of your bingo cards. So much fun, so simple to play, really enjoyable game. But with that, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this has been fun to keep up with my top 100 games. I'm glad to be back at it. I'm glad to be feeling a whole lot better. If you want to see more content, next Monday, continuing top 100 games. So numbers 30 through 21. We're getting close to that top 20. And then on Wednesday, the plan is Chronicles of Drunagor. Now, I know I've said that. Last week, I was just completely out of it. I have spent some time learning the game. I have nothing planned for tomorrow. I kept tomorrow evening free so that I can, 1, learn the game, 2, get it set up on the table, because I'm excited to start dungeon crawling through Chronicles of Drunagor. So no video link yet for that in the on Malts and Meeples, but if you want to know when that's going live, I mean, it should be 8 p.m. on Wednesday, but also if you subscribe and click the notification bell, you will know when I go live or when a new video goes up. With that, thank you so much for watching, and bottoms up.